Welcome to Nerd News Now for December 12th, 2018. This week, there was movies, there was comics, there was TV. Guess what? No one cares because Avengers 4 finally dropped a trailer. So let's get to it on Nerd News Now. Hello, welcome to Nerd News Now for December 12th, 2018. Ashford's off in the TARDIS, can't be with us tonight, but as always, I'm Mark and Miss Jen. Miss Jen, it's been 40 degrees in the morning or colder, and 70 degrees in the afternoon or hotter. So we're all kind of just like trying to get to Christmas. Does that throw you off when it's like super cold and super hot? Does it confuse your brain like it does mine?
Okay, so here's the real truth. I get to work early in the morning and I leave after it's dark. So to me, it's always 40 degrees.
Okay. Well, yeah, because once that sun goes down, and we haven't really had the sun, but it's just all total darkness. You know what else was total darkness? The end of Avengers 3. And so now the internet broke late last week when the trailer for Avengers 4 came out. And Marvel had already got everyone all riled up. And, people were dubbing it like Marvel Week or whatever. And the people were saying, oh, Christmas has come early because as fans, it's like, we have to sit around and wait for bits of these, movies and all this information to come out. So I know that last week when I wasn't here, you and Ashford talked extensively about Captain Marvel. We're all excited for that. And do you think, though, before we get into what happened with the Avengers 4 trailer, do you feel that Captain Marvel was undercut in any way by them 2 days later releasing the Avengers 4 trailer?
I don't know. We've got like all this stuff back-to-backing, right? Because we've got the Spider-Verse, Captain Marvel, Avengers. It's just like all piled on top of each other. And I'm not mad at it at all, honestly. I'm ready for these to get started.
The only thing that I was kind of like a little perturbed about, and this is online, so you can get easily perturbed about anything scrolling through Twitter, but was that when the Captain Marvel trailer dropped, people were like, yeah, but when's the Avengers trailer? And I'm like, well, you can't even give her like a minute. Just a minute, but you are right in that because this stuff is all back to back to back.
And Deadpool.
And Deadpool.
Like on top of it right now.
Right. But as far as like MCU movies, I'm kind of still surprised that they're coming out in such high frequency. Because, when Black Panther came out in February, then you had another Marvel movie right there in May. Same thing with Captain Marvel. It's going to be in March, and then 2 months later, Avengers 4. But although, I think that's a really good parlay in both cases because those characters needed their own movie introduction, and then you put them in, in the universe. So
I think what's cool about it, though, is that I know that they've done all their homework. So I think what we're going to see is it's almost like we're watching an extended movie or getting to binge because all of those things roll right into each other and have impacts into the other movies. So I think it's going to like that moment we had at the end of Ant-Man and Wasp. And we just all of a sudden at the very end of those end scenes when the event happens, we're like, oh my gosh, yes! This is like the same time period, of course.
Yeah, and now one thing with this is that it's going to start at the end or end game. So that was one thing that people were wondering, like, what is this movie going to be titled? There was like reassemble, disassemble. So it's going to be end game. It's going to focus on, obviously, this snap event.
Yeah.
Has happened. Half of everything is gone. And so within this trailer, now what's funny about this is for a long time, I can remember people saying, oh, the trailer ruins the movie because everything we see in this trailer has already, been seen. Like I saw the best parts of this movie before I saw the movie type thing.
Well,
with this, they don't really reveal the plot per se. It starts out in a very Shakespearean manner with Tony Stark and his Iron Man helmet, and it's almost like an Alas Poor York type thing. It's almost like holding the skull. He's floating off in space. He's very kind of despondent because he hasn't eaten or drinking anything. He's got maybe like a day and a half left, he says, of oxygen. And now, here's the thing. He said the word rescue, and people flipped
Do
out.
you know that they broke NASA's Twitter account NASA finally posted up, please stop sending us messages about saving Tony Stark.
Well, and then they actually responded by how you theoretically could save Tony Stark as well. So they were having fun with it. I mean, I think any time that people blend that reality and give someone else attention, like NASA, who's actually gone into space versus just a movie set, like Robert Downey Jr. I think that's fun to me.
Yes, it's perfect.
Yeah, and but so within this trailer, I'm kind of glad they kept it low key because you see Tony Stark and what he's going through. He did drop the word rescue, so people are automatically assuming, oh, okay, that's it. Pepper Potts gonna be in the rescue suit and rescue him. So I think that the trailer is cool because it allows you to kind of put those pieces together. But that could also not be the case at all. Someone might have written the word rescue and just been like, well, I didn't know there was an actual Iron Man suit named Rescue, so whatever. and then we also see, I think the biggest loss that people seem to suffer on Twitter was the loss of Captain America's beard.
Are you serious that that's what they're sad about?
Yeah, because look at, I mean, he is on there and he is cleanly shaven. But this appears to be a little bit of time after the snap. So you have Tony Stark dying in space. You have Steve Rogers and Black Widow at what looks to be maybe like one of the Avengers bases, but it's very low key. It's just them. And then you have Thanos walking through the cornfield, and you see the very iconic Scarecrow, as drawn by George Perez almost in the Infinity Gauntlet comic series. So people were excited about that. And then at the end, you have a little comical bit where Paul Rudd, as Ant-Man, comes up to the security camera and says, hey, it's me. You might remember me from the guy who got really big at the airport or whatever. and so, because like you said, at the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp, he's stuck. He's stuck in the quantum realm. We don't know if Captain Marvel is going to dig into the quantum realm and help him out, if he has some fail-safe, if maybe they set up a fail-safe for him. But he's obviously alive and well. And then I guess the only big reveal for maybe someone who doesn't read the comics that was only watching the movies is that Hawkeye is alive, but it looks like he's Ronin. And everyone was already assuming, like, Hawkeye gets a bad rap, right? I mean, he's the guy who shoots arrows. Like, they even make fun of him in the movies about that being a superpower. And then when he runs out of arrows, I think in Avengers 2, the audience laughed. Because, I mean, it's just like, he's the guy who shoots arrows. But I think we're going to maybe redeem his character somewhat by bringing him back as Ronin.
Kick some booty, man.
I think he's going to. I mean, Jeremy Renner is really good for this role. If anyone can do it, he can. And that's kind of the scene you see him in Japan.
Yes.
And then Black Widow finds him. I will tell you this. They make a big emphasis to say Thanos wiped out half of all living creatures. That means animals. To me, animals means pizza dog. If I don't get pizza dog in this movie, I'm going to be upset. Because if you think about it, so think about Thanos snaps his fingers, half the population disappears, right? Men, women, children, animals. Politicians, they're people too. And then also, so this happens, there's going to be some dogs out there that are in a bad spot, right? I mean, there's going to be still bad guys out there. That dog could be in Japan. I mean, I don't know, Pizza Dog speaks the language of pizza. So maybe that's why he's so fascinated by pizza, because Hawkeye brings him back to America and then he figures out what a real New York slice is all about. But I think that would be awesome if Pizza Dog's in this movie. That's the end of my thesis about that.
By the way, if you're looking for first appearance of Ronin, you were looking for the Bendis run of New Avengers, number 11 and 12.
Is that when it was? Okay.
That's his official first appearance.
And I think Maria Hill's first appearance was around there somewhere.
Ooh, it might be.
Around New Avengers. So a lot of these characters that are being popularized by the movie they're not going to be found in like the 60s. It's going to be more like the aughts.
This is much
The
more
aughts.
modern.
Yeah. But so all in all, and then at the end, the Avengers trailer says Endgame. So that whole mystery is solved. I don't think anyone's was unhappy about that. I was right. New Avengers number 4 was the first appearance
You killed it.
of Maria Hill. So that's what the trailer reminds you that, oh yeah, Avengers 4 is coming out. It's going to be awesome. It looks awesome. There's tons of money behind it, but they don't really give away too much. The only thing, and I'm not going to spoil this for anybody, they kind of do allude at a couple of characters that you did not see if they survived the snap or not, that they didn't make it. Or maybe one made it, maybe one didn't. Well, they do show a couple of things, just sort of like really quick, shots of certain areas of Wakanda, maybe. I mean, obviously that's kind of where it all went down, minus the Ronin stuff.
Sorry, man. If they got rid of Shuri, it's over.
Yeah.
Riots.
Yeah. I mean, but here's the thing. So these movies have made so much money. We know that there's going to be a Black Panther 2. It was announced this week that Doctor Strange 2 is happening.
Good.
The director is coming back for that. This movie is projected as of now, Avengers 4, to make $2 billion.
No problem.
So that would shatter everything. I mean, it's been a culmination by that point. Will that be the 20th or 21st movie in the series? Just counting MCU, because I think we just had like the 19th.
That was 20, right? They actually announced the 20 for the last film that was out. That was what was on the screen.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So, well, there's been 20 plus. Like this has been building for so long. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Now, one thing is, if some of those characters, the core Avengers, don't make it out of there, obviously the emphasis is going to quickly shift to other characters. But with Captain Marvel, I think one's going to be her.
Yeah.
I think T'Challa and hopefully Shuri, because I would love to see her just become Ironheart.
She can't be Ironheart.
Why not?
You gotta re.
But you know how they didn't have a White Wolf. They just made Winter Soldier White Wolf. So you know how they parlay into that.
They can do whatever. But
do you see it going? It taking a hard turn to a different, maybe era or dimension of Marvel we haven't seen, maybe like the Cosmic Realm, or do you think they're just going to keep going with the characters that they have?
There's so many really good ones that they could hit. I mean, if you're going to hit Captain Marvel, she's had her own team for a long time. And they have their own adventures in space. We don't really need Earth anymore if you do that. And at some point, we're going to have, I hope, the Fantastic Four and all of that group roll in. Because they are key to a lot of key storylines. If they're going to use them ever, they really should be having them actually in this storyline for the Thanos storyline. But what you gonna do? They didn't have the rights.
Yeah, they didn't have the rights for it. One character that is rumored to maybe pop up in a flashback. Remember when Thanos and his group of weird kids with the Black Obsidian or whatever?
Yeah, the Black Order.
The Black Order. They destroyed Nova Corps. Mm-hmm. So there's a rumor we'll see how that actually happened, and Nova will rise out of those ashes. So things like that. But that's all the time we have for nerd news now. No, I'm just kidding. It's just, but no one cared about anything else that has happened. There was movies, there was box office. No one cared. People were like, "Oh, Avengers 4, that's cool." I mean, we just skipped Christmas and Valentine's Day and St. Patrick's Day, and we were ready. I don't know if people are lined up right now. I don't think that's a thing now. With assigned seating in theaters.
That makes me sad.
Well, but I don't think anyone will be lined up for a movie in 5 months, maybe.
Someone needs to restart the whole camping out thing, just for no reason.
I mean, isn't that like a fire hazard? A lot of the times? No?
No, I helped people wait in line for 2 weeks for tickets for episode 1. And then they went right back in line and waited another 2 weeks before the movie started. So they waited in line in some part and parcel for a month.
That's the first movie I remember kind of starting, or maybe restarting that phenomenon, but of my generation anyway, that was the not that people weren't in lines for movies, Titanic been wrapped around, but as far as like pre-release
Yeah.
or ticket sales or just like making that an event, like I'm going to camp out with my lightsaber and my, sleeping bag of a tauntaun, which didn't exist at the time, but it does now.
I can remember dropping off projects with them. Be like, hey,
Yeah.
we want to hang up something really huge in the lobby. I'm going to give you this, make a Death Star. And they were like, yay, something to do. Like, what? We don't have that anymore. We don't have the, like, line full of people doing trivia, playing Trivial Pursuit and Star Wars Monopoly. We've lost something, I think.
I think in some aspects, I mean, there's still places you can go and for the gaming. There's still like organizations like Geeks Who Drink and stuff for trivia.
Yes.
But you're right. There's not like any like epic event. I mean, I guess conventions.
Yeah.
I mean, conventions. That's not something I was a part of, way back for episode 1. So now to know that there's a safe space to go do all that. But the difference with the line is everyone's there for the same exact fandom and reason.
Yes.
That was the difference. So stuff did happen besides the Avengers 4 trailer dropping.
No way.
But no other movies are important. So we're going to TV. Now, finally, so DC, they have the Arrowverse, which started with Arrow and then spawned off Flash. And then, Black Lightning's not part of it yet, but probably will be. Legends of Tomorrow is there. Supergirl came over from CBS. So they did their whole Elseworlds crossover series. It was Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday night. I think the whole reason, and I'm fine with this, was to get Ruby Rose's Batwoman finally on the screen, right?
Yes.
So that was a thing that happened. It's awesome. The costume looks awesome. I'm not as familiar with the DC universe, so the whole like Elseworlds thing, I'm not as familiar with. But apparently within this, they planted the seeds to do Crisis on Infinite Earths in 2019.
Okay.
Okay. So this could be very big, and my question is, since we don't know the details of that, we can't really like speculate on how that would work.
Hey, I know who dies in those.
Right. And if you want the answers to that, it's Avengers Volume 4, number 12. No, it's
totally
DC.
not.
But you can point people in the right direction. And the main direction would be Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yeah, 1 through 12.
Yeah, because that one was a very straightforward.
Yes.
That's what I actually do like that about DC's specialty series is they do that, and they have it directly. Now they do have I guess they have stuff that supplements that within all the different runs. But what's the current one for DC?
What they're doing now for storyline?
No, what's the big event right now? They just had issue 3. It features Harley Quinn. It's about like heroes
in crisis.
Heroes in crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And so
it's brutal.
I like when there's a main series like that. If you want to offshoot and supplement, you can. But I like the fact that you can get 8 to 12 books and get the whole story for the most part. But in regards to this DC big crossover, I think they really have a chance here to take a little bit of real estate back from Marvel, because I think Marvel, I don't know if you and Ashford talked about this, but Daredevil was canceled. And that's been the best TV thing to happen to comics in forever.
Yeah.
Now we probably know that it was successful and that Disney knows it was successful and they're going to relaunch it on Disney Plus. However, Disney Plus is probably going to be primarily family programming. So a darker Marvel TV series may not be able to exist in that realm. We don't know. All I do know is Charlie Cox said he was crying, and that made me sad.
Yeah.
Because he didn't know. Because the season 3 with Bullseye and Kingpin was awesome.
Yes.
So, but with all that kind of, not turmoil, but with all that uncertainty going on, with maybe, those entities shifting from Netflix over to Disney, it's probably going to be a couple years, till we see, if we see Daredevil again, until we see him again. I would just put him in the movies. But, I think they should just kind of take those street level Avengers, put them in the movies.
They're totally good.
They're all good actors. They can do it.
Which, by the way, they totally killed Daredevil last week in comics too.
They did? I know that it was called... that was Soul, right? That was the end of Charles Soule's run?
Yep.
And that had been building for a while, and I knew it was called The Death of Daredevil, but I didn't know if that was, a metaphor or not. So, but he'll be back.
Of course.
He'll be back
They've
in
already
Marvel
announced what
also.
they're doing. I mean, not like how or anything, but there's a comic book series that's coming out that's like the world basically without him. So it's the rest of all of that universe, all those characters, like how they're going to deal with him being gone.
Yeah. I think Kingpin's going to be the most sad by that.
Well, maybe now what's he going to do? It's just like why Joker keeps Batman around.
Yeah. Yeah. And vice versa.
Yeah.
Batman's had his chances too. But anyway, so while all this stuff is going on with the Marvel Universe and Netflix to Disney Plus transition, I think CW and DC can, especially with their app now, can really kind of take the movies as a lost cause, I think. I mean, I think Marvel MCU is a train. I think Aquaman is going to do really well later this month. Wonder Woman 2 is going to be awesome, set in the 80s. They might be able at some point to put together a decent Justice League movie, I don't know. But movies, like, let Marvel have it and just focus on this stuff. Because I think they have a real opportunity here. There's no division. Like, I don't think, other than probably not being allowed to have, like, a full-grown Batman on one of their shows, they pretty much seem to be able to do anything else. And now we have Batwoman, which some would argue is better because it's a fresh take on a Bat family member that we haven't seen before.
Yes.
So I like that. So, and if they are anywhere near successful on Crisis on Infinite Earths, people will be like, okay, DC can compete, at least on one of the factions. And obviously you're going to have people in comics who are hardcore DC or hardcore Marvel. I think that for the most part, that's sort of, I think that's gone away for the most part. Do you find any people that are still like, no, I'm DC only, I won't read a Marvel book, or vice versa?
I think people lean one way or the other. I think the universe is sort of like differently in the way they approach their characters. Although DC's done much better recently. I always used to think about it as like Marvel was much more driven to the character story, so a lot more back history for them and those emotional cues. And DC for a long time was more about the battle, like who's the battler, who are we battling with. And they've done a much better job recently of drawing me in, which is way more character driven for my story reading. So I think that you think people lean one way or the other, but certainly people dip their toes into both ponds. I think, especially on the screen.
And the thing is, once they get you with one character or group, they kind of got you because there's such a rich history on both sides there.
Yes.
Because I was kind of drawn in helping Ashford do the Birds of Prey podcast, and then I just fell down, like the Barbara Gordon rabbit hole. Yeah. I mean, just the Bat family in general. Brave and the Bold was a really awesome series. Just stuff like that. So in other TV news, Doctor Who already wrapped up its 11th season. That aired on Sunday, and we'll probably talk about that more once Ashford's back.
Yeah, he's an expert.
YouTube in on that. But the news that dropped right after that had people kind of like, what? And a little bit bummed out is that season 12 won't be anywhere near 2019. It's 2020.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Now, what they did, and we already knew about the Christmas special not happening and it being a New Year's special. And now I'm kind of thinking, and I'm not saying it was underhanded, but I'm kind of thinking like they were like, let's not do a Christmas special so we can say that an episode aired in 2019. So now you have like one episode to air on January 1st, 2019, and then allegedly nothing till 2020. Now they said this when Jodie Whittaker became the Doctor, and that ended up not being the case. Like, oh, we don't know if we're going to have Doctor Who this year.
Yeah.
But this makes it look like that's actually going to happen. And my question is, but because I don't think you have you watched any of Jodie Whittaker's run yet?
I have watched part of an episode.
Okay.
I didn't walk away from it because I didn't like it. It's just for lack of time for me.
But obviously being embedded in this whole Kingdom of Geekdom, you know how like there's lots of Whovians and you know about Doctor Who. Now, do you think with a show going away for a year in this day and age that can hurt it? But just because there's so much stuff, I feel like people are going to get distracted and maybe not be like we're talking about Avengers 4 and people are just like, as soon as Avengers 3 ended, they're waiting for that. And nothing got in their vision. But with TV now, there's so much stuff that I'm wondering if that's going to hurt it a little bit. Rather than make people like long for it, they're just going to be like, oh, whatever, there's 50 shows to go watch on Netflix and 40 shows to go watch on Amazon Prime. So if I think about it sometime, in the year 2025.
Yeah. I think it'll all depend upon, I didn't get to watch the last episode, so I don't know how they left it. They might have left it where it's like, well, no, I can't wait for the next thing. Or maybe if they do the New Year's and it's like, okay, well, that just makes me want to like think about it all the time until that new season starts. I don't know what their game plan is with leaving that much time in between.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a consideration for the actors and actresses that are involved. Maybe that's all the time they could dedicate to it.
I don't think they'll do this because people are, for a good reason, people still like watching television. Like, and when I say television, I mean, you turn on the telly on Sunday at 8, you watch the show, and then you think about it for a week, and you tune back in and do that, One thing that hurts it is only 10 episodes. So if they don't have like a firm idea throughout, you're just like, well, I didn't really see anything. Because here, stateside, we have like 22 to 24 episodes for a 1-hour drama.
Sure.
So you're constantly if there's no overarching story, you're at least being inundated with, 22 to 24 hours of your favorite characters. So that's one thing playing against it. I'm also wondering, with so much time to produce the series, should they just go to the way of binging? Like, I don't know if BBC America would do that. Yeah. But let's say if I'm thinking everyone's going to have an app that you got to pay $5 a month for. And I'm thinking that's going to cap out at some point and we'll get back to normal after that.
Yeah.
But if I were them and I was going to do that, I would shoot and edit the entire series, if it's 10 episodes, 12 episodes, whatever, and then basically be like, guess what? You can watch Doctor Who, all the whole thing in 12 hours, but that'll be $4.99 plus tax, please. That's what I would do. But I mean, that...
You lose out on all your advertising revenue. I don't think it's sustainable.
They would probably have to team up with, Disney or Netflix to do that. And with the state of everything that's going on over there, that might be possible. I don't know. It just seems like with BBC, you always hear about, like, production, uncertainty, I guess. But we still have the New Year's special, so I'm hoping it makes me sit on the edge of my seat for a year, but we'll see.
Yeah.
So speaking of specials, this week on Friday, Sabrina is getting a holiday special. They didn't say Christmas, they said holiday because it's actually about the winter solstice.
That
which
makes
is cool.
most sense for that character.
Yes. So I think the tagline for it is Christmas is a witch, which whatever. But that comes out on Friday, and that gets me excited because Doctor Who is one of the few British shows I watch on a regular basis, but I really come to take comfort in that Christmas special. Mm-hmm. And not having that, I'm kind of glad to see American shows maybe headed in that direction. There's a comedy on the Pop Network starring Eugene Levy and his son called, and there's a word that it sounds like, but it's not that because this is their last name. It's Schitt's Creek, Schitts. Mm-hmm. They're having a Christmas special on December 19th.
Oh, how funny!
So that's 2 shows. I think that's a great way to bridge the gap between seasons, especially a long one.
Yes.
And that's something that maybe even Doctor Who could do. Maybe they could have like a summer, special or whatever. But what do you think about the prospect of American shows maybe getting more regular about Christmas specials versus just like a Christmas episode? But maybe because now seasons seem to release on a whim, the season can be between like, March and July or December and March. I mean, I haven't looked into this or had time to do the research. I think that there's a new show probably starting every day. Like, if you take into account all the streaming services, all like the HGTV, there's probably a show. There's probably a show starting every day. So what do you think about the Christmas special in general?
I actually don't like Christmas specials because it takes you out of the normal run of stuff. It kind of feels like the fluff episode where you're just like, all right, everyone's going to open presents or whatever. So for me, it's not my favorite. I mean, other than Doctor Who, because they always make it really interesting. Yeah. It's usually super creepy. It has nothing to do with Christmas. It just happens during then, like, evil snowmen and all that stuff.
Well, and that one also sort of comes at the end or beginning of a season, if not a Doctor's run.
Mm-hmm.
So that sort of bridges the gap. I think I preferred this, because Sabrina, came out a few months ago, and it's going to be a few months till we get another proper season, or I don't know if it's going to be season 1, part 2, or whatever, but there's another batch of 10 episodes on the way. But that's cool, because that keeps it fresh on your mind. And then with Schitt's Creek, it's the same thing, where that's been off the air for a couple months, and I don't know when that's going to be back on. So I prefer that to, because then I don't see it as a throwaway episode about Christmas. It's like, oh, every show's done that every season, like another Christmas episode. But then it's like, oh, okay, a Christmas special. I think when it's a special and it doesn't take away from that episode count, I like it.
So we'll disagree about this one thing.
Well, but you were saying you like the Doctor Who Christmas
yes.
specials, and I can't really think of any other shows that have the specials. And what I guess my defense of it was, you would probably prefer that it be a Christmas special out of the season arc.
Oh, instead of doing like a Christmas episode.
That way, if you didn't just like the Christmas theme, then you're not missing anything from the season. But it also, like you're saying, if there's only 10 episodes and you want it to be story, then a Christmas episode 3 months later, like that only benefits you as a viewer, because there's just more time with that cast. So that's what I like. We're going to take a break real quick and then be back with comic news on Nerd News Now.
Football season is here, and Woodlands Online Sports is back better than ever. Watch all the action on KVQT 21 Houston and woodlandsonline.com.
For home repairs, call John Moore, where quality is guaranteed. If the problem returns, so will we. No extra charge.
Call John, get more. 730-2525.
Welcome back to Nerd News Now. I'm going to turn things over to Miss Jen. Miss Jen, new comics every week.
Yes.
It's been, we're kind of wrapping up the year, but no one's stopping.
Oh,
it just never stops. Is there any kind of a lull in the comics industry over the last few years, or is there always a number one? Is there always a major, first appearance? Is there always something going on? Do you know, is any part of the year, is there ever a break?
It feels like there's certain times of the year that it just like piles on top of each other. There's like some, what we call lulls, which is still have number ones every week. There's not ever a week when there's not a bunch of number ones, but it may not be like giant event number one. Like this week, there's 2 or 3 giant event number ones, kind of like, it's a lot of books for any retailer to buy, but everyone, it's going to be high demand. There's already like stupid demand for some of these books right now.
And so just real quick, what would those be?
The Batman Who Laughs number 1 drops as part of the Metal storyline.
People love that series.
Yeah. I still have a question about how he sees, because he's got a spiky thing in front of his eyes. But, and then Batman, we'll call it Batman Darned. That one is the first book was super controversial because it had Batman nudity in it. And everyone, even tonight live, was asking me, is there going to be a reprint of number 1? And there will absolutely never be a reprint of number 1 as a single issue. It's just never going to happen. I've talked to enough people high up in DC and made lots of offers about making reprints that I know it's not going to ever happen. They've made announcements and such. So the only way anyone's going to ever get that material again is when it's only a 3-issue series. So they're going to do a collected edition. But the word is that that will also be, I don't want to call it censored because it's not fair. That's not right. But it will be a changed version. I think it will not have fat nudity in it again. So those number 1s of Batman Darned are going to be only going up in value. There's no way for them to go down because they're not making more of them.
But this is issue 2 that comes out?
Number 2, yes.
Now that was that was months in between. Mm-hmm. Was that planned, I guess?
I think that there was an extended change because I know that they went, because there was new editorial for DC and heads of DC that didn't fully get to vet number 1 before it came out. So it's kind of like in the changing of the guard. So then they wanted to like, hey, let's pause and like really look at this. Since Batman is like the cornerstone of their brand, it's Detective Comics, is the name of their company. So I think they wanted to make sure they're doing right by that specific character. That being said, issue number 2 is no less brutal or very vivid. What it lacks for nakedness for Batman, physically, it gives him mentally. So if you want to see Bruce really face some like tough stuff, and keep in mind this isn't part of the main the regular storyline. This is like reimagined storyline for him. And it's just gorgeous. That art is to die for. Yeah, it was really hard for me to put the book down. I knew I needed to read it quickly today, but so good.
And so, a couple of big Batman books on the DC side. On the Marvel side, much like they did with the X-Men Wedding Special with Kitty Pryde and Colossus, there's going to be one for Ben Grimm and Alicia Masters, right? Yep. For Fantastic Four. I know Gail Simone is one of the writers, so I think they're doing the thing again where they show you, a story from the bride's perspective and a story from the groom's perspective. And then obviously, I guess, is the wedding going to take place within the pages of Fantastic Four? The actual?
Yeah, I think it's the actual. I think it's issue. What is it? 700 or something? I can't remember what the number is, but whatever the next big number issue is going to be, where that is. And I've read the wedding special, and it's really great. Just loosely to tell you, the first story is about the bachelorette party. The second story is about Ben going and asking her father for her hand officially. I know, mind blown, because he's a bad guy, but it's Puppet Master. And the third one is kind of a crazy one. Is like really like cartoony style, but it also involves her father. And I can't remember what the last one is. Like maybe it only had 3, but I thought they were all really good. And they handle it in a way that's like, okay, well, something really bad could happen to derail the whole mess. But I really think it's going to happen. There's no indication from anyone that I've talked to in the industry that says that it's not going to actually happen as a wedding. Yeah.
And then in conjunction with Into the Spider-Verse coming out this week, which is going to be a huge hit for Sony and Marvel. One of the stars of that, Miles Morales, they're relaunching Miles Morales Spider-Man. Do you know anything about that one?
Yes, and I read that one as well, and it's a really perfect way to jump in for anybody. You don't really have to know anything about the character at all. The only thing you need to kind of wrap your mind around is that Miles is not from our universe proper, so Earth, whatever it is, number. He's from the Ultimates, Earth. And so there is a Peter Parker that's part of his universe that's kind of mentored him. But Miles has a whole different set of powers. He was bitten by a spider, just like Peter was. But he has other cool set of things that he can do. Like he has like kind of it's like venom. But it's like almost like shocky stuff. They can incapacitate his foes, which is really awesome. And the issue really kind of goes through in a very, not like, this is Bill, this is related to him this way. You are introduced to his parents, who knows about who he is in real life, who doesn't, who the bad guys are in the universe, who his best friends are, all those things. You get to see him do his stuff. So it's like, if you wanted to go watch the movie, you wanted to know something beforehand, you can buy this book. If you wanted to watch the movie first and then go back and kind of understand some stuff, they're both really, really great. The only thing you don't get in the Miles Morales book is they don't address any of the extra characters that you see in the film. So you're not going to see Spider-Gwen, you're not going to see Spider-Woman, any of those people. So it focuses on him.
Yeah, because it's not really a Spider-Verse book. It's just it's supposed to be his book. They're just kind of timing it so that people who are interested in his character will be able to go back and pick that up with a book about him. Anything else?
There's lots of other books, but those are the main ones. It's like a pretty crowded week as far as books go, but those number ones are probably the ones that people should focus on.
I saw that as far as trades go, they're releasing Harley Loves Joker, which is a compilation of Paul Dini from Batman the Animated Series fame. He did a series of backup stories for Harley Quinn. I don't know if it was New 52 or Rebirth, but now you can get all those stories, Harley Loves Joker, that look like a cool trade.
Yep, so it's a hardbound one.
There's always stuff. Like even always. Well, that's all the time we have as we scramble to make our last second decisions for Christmas. We'll still be here for sure next week to talk about all the nerd news now for Miss Jen. I'm Mark. Ashford will be back with us next week. And for all the news throughout the kingdom of geekdom, tune in to Nerd News Now.